Okay, so I'm out here trying to work on our van. It is a 1997 Ford Econoline E-150 with like a decent amount of mods on it, right? Now, when it comes to working on this particular vehicle, it is lifted 6 inches, off-road tires, and this bumper. This bumper actually helps quite a bit, especially when getting the Serpentine belt in. Now, when it comes to installing this belt, I'm pretty sure that the general consensus is that you take off this little air cleaner assembly and do it from the top up here, right? But what I'm thinking is I should be able to go from the bottom and put it on. I think. Actually, do I need to take off the fan? Oh, I see the old belt right there. It's wrapped around the radiator fan. That's not good. Maybe this does need to come off. Just it. Oh, there's no screw hole missing either. Guess I'll take this off anyway. Okay, so I took the little air cleaner cover thing out, and to reach my hand in here to pull out the old Serpentine belt. Oh my god, this is crazy. It somehow managed to wrap itself around the fan clutch right here. This could be a problem. So you can see right there, the whole thing was just wrapped around it. Okay, so I have a bit of a theory, right? Based on just how like completely heated this side is, I think something on the flat drive side is seized. That would explain why it's so hot. That would also explain why there's melted residue on all the flat side pulleys, but not on the V-band pulleys, right? So I'm going to go underneath, check to see which pulley might be seized, and that would also explain why this belt failed with only 20,000 miles on it. Also, look how easy it is to get to the alternator on this thing. Everything else is kind of difficult, but the alternator is easy. So I'm underneath the van right now, and when I put my hand up here, right, I can pretty much turn everything that's not the engine loosely by hand. Like there's the AC compressor and all that. But when I get to the idler pulley, it's pretty much just jammed shut. Like there's no moving that with my hand, and that would, whoa, there's literally pieces of rubber falling out. So you can see the idler pulley is probably the culprit. It's also on a flat drive side, so that would make sense. And it's completely smooth, whereas all the other pulleys are caked in rubber. And if that was seized up, that would explain why that doesn't have any rubber on it. It explains why the heating is only on the flat drive side of it. And yeah, time for a new idler pulley. And also, I don't think it relieved tension. Look at that. I think it's seized up. So, yep, I have the solution to my problem. Order a new idler pulley. And actually, I'm up here checking the rest of the pulleys, right? Everything else is smooth except for this pulley right here. It has a bit of a notching in it. So when I go to turn it, it's catching. So I wouldn't be surprised if that bearing is going out too. So the idler pulley is definitely bad because it's not moving at all. The other pulley's not moving at all. Whatever this pulley is barely moving. Like it's, yeah, that pulley is definitely bad too. So yeah, those two will definitely have to be replaced. Okay, so now here we are a few days later, and I'm back to working on the van. The battery is disconnected, and I am going to, oh, dropped it. I'm going to get the idler pulley off because that seems to be the easiest one to get to. Now you can see the belt tensioner pulley directly below that. So there's just one 13mm bolt in the center of the idler pulley, and I'm going to pull that thing right off. Okay, so here is the old idler pulley, and you can see it says Ford made in Canada. So it is definitely the original part on this thing. And what's funny is it lasted 200,000 miles in like 20 some years, and you can definitely feel it going bad when I spin it on my finger. You can even hear it. The actual bearing has failed inside. So that lasted quite a while. Now here's the new one. It's a Dorman part made in China, but it does match up size-wise, sort of. So the diameter is the same, and the depth is also pretty much the same. This one's a little bit bigger, but that shouldn't be an issue. So let's see if this lasts the same 200,000 miles as the old one did. So when it comes to reinstalling the the idler pulley, you can see that there's a little peg right there. So that goes inside the bearing, and then the little screw thing holds it on. It's pretty simple. Okay, so here we are underneath the van, and you can see to get the belt tensioner pulley off, you have to come from the bottom, and then there's a couple 10mm bolts that you can access through this way. So there's one, and then there should be another one directly below the 10mm actual bolt. I might have to come from the top for that one. But you have 2 points of access for this one at least, for the belt tensioner pulley. Also, none of these are as tight as I thought they would be. Now if I'm up here, you can see the 2 bolts. You got one right there, directly underneath the idler pulley, and one at the very top, right next to the idler pulley right there. So those 2 bolts are going to be coming off right there and right there. Also, these are all 10mm bolts. Never underestimate the power of a 10mm bolt. Okay, so I got the idler tensioner pulley off, and you can see this bearing is totally just destroyed. Like, it's completely seized. No matter how much force you put on it, you cannot turn this. That's probably what superheated the belt and caused it to fall off. So in comparison, no turn, turn. And this is a whole new assembly. Oddly enough, apparently AC Delco also makes their stuff in Canada. AC Delco, made in Canada. Actually, this is the original Ford part, so it's been on there for 200,000+ miles too. Made in Canada, Ford Motor Company, Litton's. It said Ford somewhere on it. Did it? I thought it did. Oh, there it is. Ford, right there. So yeah, this part lasted 200,000 miles too. Okay, so what I ended up doing is I came from the bottom and hand tightened that bolt right over there. Hand tightened that bolt. Or, nope. That one right up there. That way, right now it's currently being held in by just one bolt, but I also now have the ability to go up there and just hold it in and put the bolts in. I don't need to worry about aligning it from the top. There's a lot less access in terms of being able to maneuver the thing coming from the top down the bottom. It's way easier to put it in from the bottom. It's so nice and shiny, that new part. Okay, so my next step is going to be to torque down the idler pulley bolts. Those 2 right there. It's supposed to be about 18 foot-pounds. But my torque wrench is actually in inch-pounds for this particular size, so I'm going to guess it's going to be about 216 inch-pounds. Don't quote me on that, not too sure. So 18 foot-pounds is the number I know is accurate from looking around on the internet. 216 foot-pounds is what I think it should be, or 216 inch-pounds is what I think it should be. So let's do that real quick. So the belt tensioner pulley has been tightened to about 216 inch-pounds, about 18 foot-pounds. I couldn't find anything for the idler pulley, so I'm just going to go 219 foot-pounds, which is like 228 inch-pounds. Hopefully that should be good enough to make sure it doesn't fall off the engine, and then I'm going to slide everything back on. So my access to get down into the engine bay is a little bit impeded by the fact that there's a lift kit on this car, or this van. And the steering dampener is in the way of me just popping the Serpentine belt up. So what I'm going to try to do is take off this intake plenum and see if I can just pop it on a bit easier that way. Looks like just 2 5/16 bolts holding it on. And let's see how this goes. So, because this van has a steering dampener for the lift kit and everything, I ended up going to Harbor Freight and getting this Serpentine belt tensioner loosener tool. Belt tool kit or whatever, because I didn't want to take the steering dampener and other parts off just to change the Serpentine belt. So let's hope this works. The breaker bar was too thick, and I believe this should be thinner. This should work, hopefully. So just a quick explanation of what I did. I used this tension relieving tool to de-stress the belt tensioner, or detension the belt tensioner. I got all the pulleys on first, and I left the power steering pump for last. That way I was able to release tension down there and put the power steering pump belt on at the same time. I saw some other guy try to do it on the alternator. That is quite a bit harder. You might need a second person because of the way to get to it. This way, because of the radiator fan and the actual mechanical connection to the engine, it's just easier to do the power steering one last and detention at the same time. So I'm just checking all the things to make sure that they're in the grooves, and I'm gonna start it up here in a minute. It looks like everything should be good. Okay, van's done. No crazy squeaking or anything. Belt seems to be running well. It's running a little rough, but I think that's because it needs a tune-up. But yeah, no squeaking or anything. I call this a success. I'd say I'm gonna go get some oil for it and send it. Okay, that's about it. New idler pulleys installed, new tensioner pulleys installed, serpentine belt, everything is good to go. Took her for a test drive. She runs pretty mint. Sounds like a brand new van, minus all the chirping noises that were coming out earlier. Yeah, if you want to see more videos on this thing, hit like. If you want to see, if you want to see more videos, hit subscribe. If you like this video and it helped you out, hit like or whatever. And have a good one, guys. Do whatever else you do on Facebooks or YouTubes and the internets. And damn, this thing looks so mean.